So hey, stop me if you've heard this one. I was just talking to Kara and we were talking about goals and all that, and I told her that she should start embracing her mistakes. So she gave me a really big hug.
Ah, brutal.
I thought that was pretty good. Hello, Arachne. This is your host, D, Dr. D, reaching out through the supervision free source of Spanish interfacing here in the Spanish Main. I have today a very special guest. He's a good man. He's a great man. He's the best man. His name's David, also known as Endless. David, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Dylan, and what's up, podcast listeners? My name is David. I'm the host of Winter Moon Wargaming, and we do a Star Wars Legion-based podcast. But I also play Blood and Plunder, which is a really, really fun game. In case you haven't figured that out yet.
So, David here, I actually, funnily enough, bumped into him on his YouTube channel, which does have Blood and Plunder content on it. And then he randomly came into one of the Twitch streams, and we've become very fast friends. So,
Yeah,
you want to elaborate on that?
yeah, sure. So I did a little bit of Blood and Plunder content for about a month or two. Didn't produce a whole heck of a lot, and I want to get back to doing more, but I've just been doing so much with Legion lately because they're launching a new set of starters, and so I've been doing a lot of content there. But Blood and Plunder is a game that's close, near and dear to my heart. Um, I love pirates. I love the historical nonsense that we get into, and it's really fun to pronounce words like engagé and boucanier and all those other interesting words. So
Both of those happen to be French. Could you just assume that it would be better to learn how to speak French?
uh, not particularly, because I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the French. I like there's specific French units that
Wow.
I like, but which the English buccaneers can employ. And I mean, England and
Mhm.
France have a pretty close history, right? Ever since
We're going to talk
1066,
about that.
right?
We're going to talk about that in today's episode, actually, ironically enough.
Yeah, we are.
So when I was thinking about actually moving into the sphere in this game, not to say that we're going full competitive here, but this is definitely a moment where we are moving into, because Summer Plunder's over. We've talked to a lot of the creators and stuff like that, and I really like to talk, shop with people who are important to the community, which I believe David really and truly honestly is. So I decided that if we were going to start talking about more tactical stuff, David, when he did his YouTube stuff, had a uh, very clear stint of analyzing to the two commanders that he did do in a way where it was, hey, we can make a list with this guy. This is what it might look like, and these are the ways that you would play this commander, which I find very fascinating, of course, as a player. But I think a lot of people really enjoy that kind of content. And since he's not going to make the content on his own, I'm going to force him to do it by press ganging him
Yes,
into the Arachnid crew.
I'm gonna become
So
a
here he
pressed
is.
man. I'm gonna
He's going to
become an
be
engagé. In fact, at this rate, since the
he's going to
engagé
be
are indentured servants,
press
it's the fancy
pressman
French
or
name for
what?
indentured servants.
Pressmen are 2 points in this game.
They're 2 points, and they're actually pretty radical. They're
They
pretty
are.
rad.
I mean,
So
anybody with a musket and what artillery crew?
well, I use them as sheets and braces crew actually,
There you go.
because you can put a bosun in them, and they get expert sailor.
And you see that right there, that comment. Did you guys hear that? That's why he's here, because he
Yeah,
knows that kind of stuff.
because you get
So
because I'm playing a brigantine, and I got to squeeze everything onto this brigantine. It's only got so many pieces of so much territory in which I can put miniatures.
And then we got a Corbata on the way. It's got even more limited space. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyway,
I'm excited for the Corbetta. I'm really
I am
excited.
too, which we'll get to later. But first, we got to talk about some business. So today on Arachne, since we're going to be talking about this, we have to thank our patrons. They are very, very important. They help pay all the weird little bills that come up with all these shows that we do and all that. And I really, really do appreciate them. That's Cyril S, Derek S, Quinn B, Nick B, and Aleph did nothing wrong. It's also Aleph is the way. I think I get that confused all the time. But if you are a patron and you've signed up at that tier of Digital Nomad, as soon as I find out you're on there, very long story. I don't get to see that list very often, but when I do, I like to update it. I really do appreciate it. If I have not said your name before and you are on there, holy crap, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate every single thing that anybody does to help out the show, which is more people than you could possibly imagine. I really do appreciate it. I love you guys. And then there's not a moment of I hope I sound candid and very like authentic, because like holy shit, I'm amazed sometimes at what people are willing to do to just help me out do things. I really appreciate it, guys. I really, really, really do. And of course,
I was gonna say,
we're part.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm about to go on a bunch of ads. Go
Oh
ahead.
no,
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say patrons are just awesome people in general because they have the spirit and the altruistic calling to
Mhm.
support things that wouldn't otherwise get support,
Yep.
and to be promoters of artistic projects that otherwise have no ability to get backing in our current kind of like climate, so
Mhm. And
financial and otherwise. So
they're
they're just
also
awesome people.
they're also proof that somebody's listening,
Yeah,
which in itself is a reward, at least to me.
absolutely.
But like I said, I really, really do appreciate it. And of course, if you would like to become a patron, Arachne is part of the Professional Casual Network. So if you'd like to support the network, please sign in at our Patreon or purchase some hot swag at streamlabs.com. Professional Casual Network 1. I have put new merchandise on there. I finally did it. I had a free second and a free day. I have updated the podcast with the new logo and the new name. I have redone some stuff on the YouTube channel. I have done more merch. I have to get someone to do the logo for Raise the Black. There will be a Raise the Black shirt at some point. I'm going to put it on a Dunk Master jersey, and I'm going to wear that thing all the time because those things are super insanely comfortable. But if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please go to streamlabs.com, Professional Casual Network 1. I am going to probably rework the show notes where that stuff is going to be easier to find because obviously I know there's been a lot of things that are a little inefficient lately. Don't worry, I've been insanely busy. I can't even describe the amount of things I've been doing in my life lately, but I am very much still dedicated to Arachne, and I hope that this kind of stuff helps you and shows you the love that we do have for you guys. And of course, I am sponsored by Monument Hobbies. I use their paints all the time. If you would like to watch me use those paints, please come to the Twitch channel, Professional Casual Network. And we usually do our streams on Monday, Sunday, and Thursday. Not always, but most of the time. And if I'm not there, I'm usually doing something else. So I'm there if I can be. Trust me, I assure you. But you can use the code Professional Casual at checkout to get yourself a swanky discount at monumenthobbies.com. And Baron of Dice makes some sweet dice. They actually do have Blood and Plunder dice. They're super swanky. I've been using the Dutch and the English ones myself.
I own a set of
I love
Spanish
them.
ones. They're sick. I love them.
The Spanish and the Dutch ones, I think, are my favorite. I really love the colors on those.
Yeah,
If that
the
makes
red marbling is really really nice on the Spanish dice, and then of course the what is it, the Burgundy Cross, that's what I'm thinking of,
sense.
on the shield.
Yep.
Looks good.
It's very, very pretty. I gotta say, I really like them. I like the weight to them. I like the way they click. It's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're also used for Port Royal because it does give you a primary dice in there whenever you play that game. So
Yep.
if you're only interested in Port Royal, that dice set will set you straight. Highly recommend it. Use the code Arachne to get yourself a swanky little 5% discount.
Or a sharpshooter dice if you're so inclined to take the sharpshooter,
That's true too.
because the
Yes,
rolls cover separately.
sharpshooter's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Personally. So today, let's get into the meat potatoes. We're going to be talking about Captain William Kidd. And so this guy was born in Oklahoma, and he traveled around the Midwest. No, I'm sorry. That's Billy the Kid.
It's Billy the Kid. Yeah, man.
Excellent. If anybody's curious, you should definitely listen to the song by Billy Joel, which is the ballad of Billy the Kid. I listened to it like 3 or 4 times just today just to get ready for that one joke. I did it. I've
Well,
achieved comedy.
I'm gonna have to do the more music, because I did some music for Summer of Plunder,
Mhm.
but there's actually a ballad of Captain Kidd.
Yes,
There is a ballad of Captain Kidd. It's kind of semi-famous. It's like actually a real thing.
I'm going to actually put it in this episode because I did listen to it in preparation for this episode. It's actually pretty good. The sea shanties are great. I love sea
Yeah.
shanties. They're absolutely
My
phenomenal.
name is Captain Kidd as I sailed, etc. I don't remember the
Hmm.
rest of it.
Well, I don't expect you to just rip it off. Yeah, your preparation for that would have been pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I would. What's preparation? We don't prepare for anything around here.
So So the way these shows are going to work, and this is going to be a format that I think we're going to use in the future. If you would like us to change it in some way, please give me some feedback, and I, of course, will switch it up. But what we're going to do, this is very tied to my old friend Jesse from Fury's Finest, where we will be talking about this person, who he was in real life history. We will talk about the abilities that he has access to in the game, what armies he's attached to, and then I think both of us will have a list, or at least I will, where you might give you a good idea of where to go. It will include my famous boarding list, my famous Captain Kidd boarding list that everybody likes to make fun of me for, which I had a lot of help from somebody named Nigel, also known as Blackish Caesar. Absolutely phenomenal guy. Me and him talk lists and just goof off with each other all the time. So I wanted to make sure I did a call out to him. He's an absolutely phenomenal
Oh
guy. If you have any
yeah,
questions about this game, he loves talking about
Nigel. Yeah, he's actually one of my locals. He and
it.
I,
Yes.
we sometimes we visit Brooksville, Florida. You can go to Never Board. Let's shout out to Never Board. And you'll find us up there maybe once or twice a month playing Blood and Plunder. He plays natives and he kicks butt with them. He plays pirates. He does all kinds of stuff. But we can get into the tactical weeds later in the show about why natives and pirates are good.
And I got a little bit of a spoiler alert. There might be a lot of cav coming.
Oh yeah,
Just as a warning. That
cavalry's
might
good too.
that might be coming. So I will be going over the story of William Kidd. I will tell you immediately, as I did all my research for this, William Kidd's story is very, very eventful. He had a very eventful life. We'll be hitting some of the high marks. It will not include everything. So if it seems like I'm skipping something or am not bringing something up, it is more than likely just due to time. And it is actually super interesting to look into his life if you find any of this interesting, just because of the fact that he he was like a really capable kind of guy, but he kind of failed. Like ultimately, he's most well known for his giant screw up,
Mm.
which is really really quite interesting. Because most of the time when you hear about famous pirates and all that, most of them are like, oh yeah, they raided a thing and they blew something up and they stole a bunch of money and they got away with it. But in this case, Captain Kidd did in fact not get away with it. Quite the opposite, actually. It didn't end well. Spoiler alert. So, is there any what? So you may not even know the real history, but Mr. David, what do you know about Captain Kidd before we even actually get started
Um, well, I know he was responsible for the Quetta
on? Yep,
incident,
yep, that will come up.
and then I also know he's associated with the Adventure Galley, which was
Yes, he is
a famous ship.
famous because it's terrible,
Yeah,
because he was a leaky piece of crap.
yeah,
Yes, very. Those are usually what everybody knows, is they know about the famous pirate hunt that did eventually come to capturing the Quetta, which leads to buried treasure and all that. It's very very
yeah.
interesting, but
He was
we'll
also
get into it later.
Scottish.
He's very Scottish. In fact, that's a great place to start. So let's start about with the story of William the Kid. So arguably, William the Kid was not a pirate. At the very beginning, he did do some piracy, but eventually, when he was in the middle of his early pirating career, he did actually lose his boat. He was born in Dundee, Scotland in 1654. His father died at sea, and then he shortly after becoming an adult ran away after his mother remarried. If, from what I can understand, his family was always struggling, but Scotland isn't necessarily known for its high levels of wealth, especially back in the 1600s. So it is a story as old as time. People are in poor families and they find they just find work in sailing, especially back then because of the fact that that's where all the money was. So he was very tall and he was very strong, and he was known for a very strong temper. Physically speaking, he was very, very capable, and he was also very well known for kind of being an asshole. He was not. He was never a very good leader of men, and he always was picking fights with people. He was definitely not a guy that you'd want to. I don't know. It was hard to call him a friend. He was very grumpy, to say the least. So he pops into history around 1689 when he signs on to a friendship called the St. Rose. This is, I believe, his first like major historical event. He's probably been sailing before this because I know he was a cabin boy and he worked his way up. But he did actually originally start working for the French, which wasn't uncommon for the Scottish because there was always like the Scottish and the Irish may have been obviously they're very close to England, but at this point Scotland was independent at this point, I do believe.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact history, but I know that Scotland and France had been close to each other because
Yeah,
of the Catholicism Protestantism issue.
correct. And
And the
because they were
Scottish were
both
traditionally Catholics, the French were traditionally Catholics. You know,
and they
Louis the
both
14th was like this
were
huge Catholic monarch, you know,
anti-English just to
and
keep themselves like
anti-English
safe from
just
each
in
other.
general. Yeah.
Yeah. So he eventually signs on with the French, which makes perfect sense in this case. And eventually, the crew on the Saint Rose would rise up in mutiny, and they would take over the ship. And then William would actually be voted the captain of the Saint Rose, and he would bring the ship to Nevis, where the governor of Nevis would actually rename the boat the Blessed William, supposedly because of the King of England. But it is also somewhat assumed that it was done because the governor of Nevis liked William Kidd. So it might have been by chance. It might have been because it might
Hmm.
have been like a tongue in cheek kind of joke, but it was called the Blessed William. Eventually, this boat would get stolen by a just a terrible near do well. Robert Culliford. You're going to hear this name a few times because of the fact that Robert Culliford continuously was in the background of William Kidd's life. And if I could come up with a perfect analogy for it, if William Kidd was Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, Robert Culliford was literally Gary. They
He's
hated
Gary
each
Oak.
other. They hated each other. And throughout life, they would kind of like keep bumping into each other around the world, and they every single time it always ends badly for William, which we'll get into obviously. So when when William Kidd had his ship stolen by Culliford, he eventually found his way into New York, which is actually, I'm sorry, I don't remember. That's actually that time frame. Let me rephrase that. He eventually goes to New York because he's looking for Culliford, and he actually misses him by 2 months. And he gets tied into this whole replacement issue with the governor of New York, and he actually helps the new governor take over. And he actually becomes a local hero to the people, and he gets really well intertwined with the, I guess you could call it the local aristocracy, even though New York wasn't like a huge town per se. I definitely, when you compare it to like old Europe, but because he was such a local hero, he got to marry the most wealthy widow in New York, Sarah Bradley Cox Ort.
Mm.
And so after he did this, he actually got a lot of money. He was really, really well set up. Really, really well set up. He had a kid with Sarah, who they very creatively named Sarah. So there was another Sarah,
Sarah
and
Jr.
that's Sarah Jr. And they had a sick 3-story house, dude. Can you believe it?
What?
And
3 stories?
I
Dang.
know, dude. It's crazy. What are you gonna do with all those stories? And at
Dang.
that point, Kid actually retires, and he doesn't do anything else with his entire life, and he actually lives happily ever after. So at that
Yeah,
point,
I'm gonna call BS on that.
so yeah, of
X'd
course,
out.
he does retire for a time, and after a few years, until 1695, he decides that he's bored with just being a merchant, because he does become a merchant with all the money that he has, and he realizes that he wants to get a commission in the Royal Navy, which is absolutely bonkers because the Royal Navy is definitely something more reserved for English aristocracy and noblemen, and you also have to have a history of working for the Royal Navy, which he never did because he only ever worked for the French. And as a privateer for the English, you're technically not a part of the Royal Navy because you're kind of like your own commission. You're like your own kind of like independent. You're like literally like an independent contractor in a lot of ways when it came like back then. So you didn't have to pay employment taxes and stuff, which I'm learning about that stuff.
Yeah.
So eventually, Kidd finds a Protestant Irishman called Lord Bellamont. Now, Lord Bellamont was a very well-known government official at the time, and because Bellamont was looking for some money, he was having some issues back at home. He knew a bunch of people of power, of wealth and taste, if you can say that, in the English aristocracy, and so they would create this trust fund, not a trust fund, but it would create like a group of investors, which included William III, who was the King of England at the time. Now, this was kind of crazy, right? So the reason that this was such an important get together was because Kidd was very pompous and he was saying that he could do all these crazy things. So it actually made one of the craziest contracts of the time where all of the investors would get 10%. I'm sorry, the investors of this would get their lion's share of the plunder, and William the King himself would take 10% of any money that William King would get on his little expedition. Now, the reason this expedition existed was because Henry Avery, at the time, who was a very famous pirate, had just taken him and all of his pals, and they had just raided the Pilgrim fleet, and they were stealing all the money from the Mughal Empire. Mughal, I think, is a Final Fantasy creature with the little bat
No, it's
wings and the squiggly
it's Mughals. Yeah.
so apparently, I was gonna make a terrible joke. Anyway, so yeah, they raid the Pilgrim fleets, and so the king was approached by the emperor of the Mughal Empire, and the emperor was like, "You got to stop this, or you're not allowed to trade with us anymore." And most of British money, the economy was very, very dependent on trading with the Indian subcontinent because that's where a lot of the money for like spices and stuff like that came from.
Right.
Because Ceylon was an island off of the coast of India, so this very risky contract. It was very scary because if the kid didn't do very well, there was a performance bond of £20,000, which means that if he didn't do very well, he would owe the investors £20,000, which is quite a bit of money, especially for just like some local guy who
Well,
was an
slow
idiot.
down here. So he there was a bond on this contract that said if you fail, you owe us 20 grand.
Correct. So
Whoa.
that they were
Okay.
owed £20,000 in
Yeah.
1650s.
Woof.
That's
That's
a
like
lot of money.
that's at least a couple million by today's standards, but it's a lot of money.
Correct. And
Yeah.
so part of the contract was £8,000 were raised to build a ship that would specifically be used for this. I believe, if my research is correct, this is the first time a vessel was built from money from the one of the crowns, one of the royalties, the English
Mhm.
royalty, that was not being used by essentially someone that was a commissioned officer. So
Wow.
William King. I keep saying William King. That's an author. William Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid was given all this money to build the ship that would later be known as the Adventure Galley. And the Adventure Galley, unfortunately, was known to be a very leaky piece of junk,
Yeah.
which would be something that Kid would have to deal with for his entire little
Okay.
life.
Okay. So can I try to make an attempt to like put this in modern terms? It
Absolutely.
it would be like having it would be like having a government entity build a military vehicle specifically for a private guy
Mhm.
with the backing of a few other private guys
Yep.
to do something that is like a politically vital move here because
Yep.
we're trying to stop pirates from raiding the pilgrim fleets from the Mughal Empire because we're their trading partners.
Yep.
So this is Kid is basically like he's a mercenary, right? He's got a letter of marque. He's a privateer. So
Mhm.
it would be like they had built a special jet fighter just for him. It's kind of like, but
This is
this
the way I
jet
thought
fighter is
about
built
it.
by the lowest bidder.
The
So
U.S. government paid Lockheed Martin to build a tank so that a guy could drive around Israel to fight Hamas, but they gave him a Honda Accord with a couple sheets of metal like duct taped to the side of it.
I was hoping we wouldn't go that far off the rails, but I totally get what you're saying. It's basically saying this government is building a specially built piece of military equipment for this one private citizen, which is like
Correct.
something you would
Insane.
never hear of these days.
And so it could have just been the case that William could have just ran off with the ship, right? And that he would have obviously been hunted his entire life. But
Yeah, but
it's like,
he's got this like super high tech piece of ship, right?
well, you would hope,
You
but
would
it was in
think,
fact, it
but
was in
no,
fact not.
it's a piece of crap, as we're gonna find out.
So the Adventure Galley, the one advantage of this boat is that it had a very nimble set of like you could row it very easily, which made it very nimble, especially when the wind wasn't with you. So it was designed to be a hunting vessel. It unfortunately just couldn't take water very well, and the thing would if you left this thing in the water by itself long enough, it would just sink. That's the shape it was in. It wasn't great. So obviously, when all this happened, he gets his boat. He needs a crew. Nobody actually wants to join his crew because of the fact that 1/4 of all the plunder they get is going to get split among all of the sailors, and that was what their pay was going to be because there was actually no salary, which was something that kind of depended on the commission. So let's just say they made £100,000 on their little raid. 25,000 of those pounds would be split between like 100 people,
Okay,
which
so if you're a sailor on this tub, all right, you're not getting paid until
the very
mission
end.
complete,
Correct.
and you better pray that mission complete has enough doubloons to cover you.
Correct.
That's
And
even
so
wilder to think about.
all of the people that he was hiring. Well, let me rephrase this. So he actually went against the contract. Captain Kidd did, and he said, "All right, we're going to split a third of it of the plunder, and then between all the different people." And so that actually really lit the fire under other people's butts, and they actually did start having people join up. Most of them were New York near do wells. They were known to be less than legal in many ways. So he had a very strong predilection for having pirate esque type sailors on his boat. Which, hey, guess what? That's what they call foreshadowing. And so Kidd would take this crew and he would go around the Cape of Good Hope, where he was actually stopped by the Royal Navy, who are within their legal right to tell people who work for the English Crown, hey, we need to press gang a bunch of your crew members. And they demanded that Captain Kidd give him 30 of his men in order to serve on a royal vessel. He was like, nah, screw that. And he just kind of snuck on by. And of course, this meant that there was a report that got sent to London, one of many that said that, oh, Captain Kidd's kind of a pirate. He's kind of a dick. And so that was something that is going to continuously happen to Kidd because he just can't seem to make any friends. And even when he does something that he's like essentially he's not supposed to, he does it in such a way where he really rubs everybody's shoulders in a way that is just not good.
Now I have a little bit of sympathy with Kid for this particular incident. It's because someone in the Royal Navy got a hair up their butt about the salute.
Mm-hmm.
Is why this happened, right?
Yep.
So some of the
And
Navy was
that's
like, we're gonna unreasonably retaliate by press ganging your crew, even though you're under a royal commission of sorts, because you didn't show me, the naval aristocrat, due respect. Like, so I have a little bit of sympathy for Kid on this one.
I don't necessarily blame him. I agree with you. And so he would go on to start sailing around looking for pirates. So he was sent to the Indian Ocean to look for literally 5 pirates, which was Henry and his 5 pals. I can't remember the names of all the captains off the top of my head, but they will come up. They are all 5 of those captains are playable in the game, and if you read the histories and all that stuff, it does come up. There's a bunch of them in there. I think one of them might be Diego de Mulatto. I think is one of them, and there's a question. Yeah, they're great, and most of them are like captains you don't necessarily see all the time. But Henry Avery is a very well known pirate, and so that name probably might strike an ear and be like, oh, I know who that is. So he was sailing around, and then he actually found some English ships, quite a few of them, where he would sail up to them and try and figure out if they were a pirate or not. And there was quite a few of them that actually reported that kids shot at them, which apparently was not true. But in the ship journals, there's many notes of the fact that Kidd supposedly was attacking English shipping in the area, which again was sent back to London and created this idea that Captain Kidd was a pirate running around the Indian Ocean just trying to steal money. So the East India Trading Company saw the adventure galley bearing down on the Pilgrim fleet ships, and they fired upon him because he was using a red flag, which usually means no quarter or a intent or an ill intent. Nobody really knows why he did it, but apparently he was sailing near Pilgrim fleet ships and the East India Trading Company because they were trying to appease the Mughal emperor. Actually shot at him. And so the East India Trading Company started to think, okay, well, maybe it is true that Captain Kidd is a big jerk face. And at this point, they actually stopped trading with him. So it's actually really difficult for Captain Kidd to start finding supplies, which limits his ability to move around. So he actually has to trade for supplies from local Dutch vessels or other trading fleets in the area, which are not nearly as big and populated as the East India Trading Company. Now, the other thing that's really important to note about this entire adventure is that England and France were at war at the time. So technically speaking, all French ships that were working for the French crown were legal. They were things he could take. He could get on their boats. He could take all their stuff. He could do whatever he wanted with them. They were all legal prizes. So he actually does sail around and eventually find some French ships, which is about to come up. So reports from the trading company would constantly portray Kidd poorly as an aggressive monster. They would say that he would run on land and actually terrorize locals, which is funny because the East India Trading Company was famous for doing just that exact thing, even though these almost all were refuted by testimony and were clearly exaggerated in order to make Kidd look bad, so that when he went back to London, he would never be able to work again, or he would be hung or whatever. So Kidd's crew would continuously attempt to plunder Dutch vessels specifically, but obviously Dutch and England were pretty big allies at the time because they both hated Spain, which at that time everybody hated Spain for the most part, and so his crew kept trying to mutiny. Essentially, they would actually do votes and all that in order for them to jump onto friendly Dutch vessels, take all their stuff, or force them into weird, as Captain Kidd would put, Judas-like contracts in order for them to steal all their stuff. This would eventually lead to an incident with somebody called William Moore. There's a lot of Williams back in the day, where William Moore held a democratic vote to say, we're going to steal all this stuff off of this Dutch vessel. Eventually, Kidd would say, we're not going to do this. I'm so tired of you guys doing this. They got into a really big argument, and Captain Kidd would pick up a bucket, smash it over Moore's head, break his skull, and he would die the next day. Here's some foreshadowing. This is going to come up again later. So eventually, Captain Kidd would find the Mughal ship, the how do you say the Quda? The Quda? Oh no, David, he's gone. David died. I believe it's called the Quda.
No,
Merchant.
I'm here. Sorry.
Is it pronounced the Quda?
Quida.
Quida. That's how you say it.
Yeah.
So this is the point where everything in Kidd's life goes really bad. It wasn't doing so great up to this point, but this is definitely where it gets worse. He bumps into the Quda Merchant. It flew French colors and was crewed by many Frenchmen. 50,000 pounds of plunder, including opium, gems, jewels, and gold, were found on the ship. Kidd would actually take this crew and keep it to himself, and he would not actually share it with anybody, and he never told anybody about it. So it's later learned that there was an East India Trading companyman on the boat. So at this point, Kidd realized that he was going to get he wouldn't be looked very favorably upon. This was a legal prize just because of the fact that it was under French colors.
Right.
So he actually offered to sell it back to the Armenians for a single piece of 8 which would later be called the One Piece. Now, this is, I believe, an actual thing that the anime is based off of, because in that anime, the One Piece leads to the treasure from, I think it's Gold D. Roger or whatever, which
Hmm.
I believe is the legend of Captain Kidd's buried treasure. Because Captain Kidd is the only actual famous pirate captain that buried his treasure, supposedly.
There
So
you go.
it's fun. That anime is actually based off of Captain Kidd. Kidd eventually would sell stuff to smugglers, which went against the contract because all of the stuff that he took was supposedly owned by the investors, which included the King of England, who was kind of an important figure at the time. He would eventually go on to Madagascar on, I guess, in an attempt to start working his way back to England. And guess who he bumped into? A man by the name of Robert Culliford.
Uh,
How interesting. So Robert Culliford was actually the person that led a mutiny that made Captain Kidd lose the blessed the Saint Rose, which is the ship that he took from the French at his very early on in his
right, the
career.
Blessed William.
The Blessed William was lost because Robert Culliford left. He engineered the mutiny, so these two really hated each other, which was why he was chasing after him to New York. So this is what happens. Kidd finds out that Robert is, and Robert's actually a pirate. So this is why William is here. He's here to take out people like Robert. So he hears that he's on an island near Madagascar, and so he starts sailing towards it. And he says, "Great, this is going to be easy." He has about 113 to like 120 sailors on his side, and Robert, I think, has about like 15 to 20. It's going to be a pushover. It's going to be an absolute just easy match.
Hmm.
He gets close, and the crew, which really hate William Kidd, realize that the people that are with Robert are all from New York, very similar to them. So as they get close, most of William Kidd's crew actually mutinies at that point. They join Robert and they take over the adventure galley.
Oh my gosh.
Only 15 men remained loyal to Kidd, which included a couple, what they like slaves and people of less mean, shall we say, and the cabin boy remained loyal. So eventually, Kidd would lock himself into his galley with his cabin boy, where they had 40 guns and pistols, including a very large stack of gunpowder. And they locked themselves in there. And William Kidd said if they don't get off his boat, he's going to blow the thing up and he's going to kill everybody on that thing. Now, the crew knew that William would actually do it because he was what you would call an asshole. So they all were like, okay, eventually they gave up and they left. So if the adventure galley at that point was pretty much finished, when the crew left, they damaged the ship and they also burned the captain's log. So at this point now, Kidd has no proof of any of the things that have happened to him while he was gone.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he had to actually burn his ship down where he took the ironwork, which was like the iron frame of the boat,
Right,
which
the
is a very
hinges.
valuable thing. Yep, all the pieces of metal that are hard to replace. Wood is a lot easier to replace than metal.
Yeah.
And so he would actually repair the Queda, and he would rename it the Adventure Prize, and that was his new flagship. I say flagship. It was his only ship, and he decides that I think I'm done with this. He actually sails back to the Caribbean, which at that point almost everybody thinks that a Kidd is a pirate because they've only heard all these all these like legends and rumors or whatever that have coming out of the area where they're like, okay, this guy must be causing all these kinds of problems. The funny thing is, Robert, when he took the crew, he actually went and continued to raid the Pilgrim fleets, which made the problem even worse.
Oh, jeez.
Poor guy cannot catch a break.
No.
So, when he went back to the Caribbean, he realized that he had been declared a pirate, and he realized, okay, I got to do something. I got to get ahead of this. So he actually sells the Adventure Prize, and it's somewhere in the middle of all this, he buries his treasure. He buries that 50,000 pounds of gems and shiny objects. And he eventually goes to find Lord Bellamont, who I believe is the governor of Boston at the time. So he goes to Boston, and he's like, Kidd decided to hide the treasure supposedly was hidden on Gardner Island to keep it safe while he was being investigated, just in case he wanted to use it as leverage. He does eventually get arrested in Boston while he's attempting to get in touch with Lord Culliford, and he trusts in Lord Bellamont. He says, "Hey, I'll tell you where I'll tell you where the ship is, the Adventure Prize, and where I buried my treasure if you'll help me get out of this mess." Lord Bellamont says, "Yeah, no deal." He takes all the stuff, he confiscates it, holds him in prison for a number of years, and he actually eventually does send him back to London to go his trial. Right. So eventually, Lord Bellamont would go on to write of Kidd. This was one of my favorite things that I like, the favorite quote. This is what he says. He has without doubt a great deal of gold, which is apt to tempt men that have not principles of honor. I have therefore, to try the power of dull iron against hold, have put him into irons that weight 16 pound. There never was a greater liar, which was spelled Lyar, or thief in the world than this Kidd. So Lord Bellamont is the one that funded him, and he's over here saying that he's like a scumbag,
Well, Bellamont's like covering his own butt, right? Because
essentially.
he's like, oh, this guy, I never had anything to do with him, even though I financed his stuff, even though he was a close associate of mine.
It made quite the scandal, shall we say. So in 1700 on the dot, Kidd is sent to London, and this great scandal creates a very big publicity wave because of the fact that William the Third, who was the King of England and who was put into place because of a rebellion, because I believe he's the one that replaced Lord Cromwell. I believe is I think that's the king. That I might be wrong on. I know William the Third was put into place by a rebellion. I don't remember specifically why, but I do know he was put in there. And four other English nobles were all accused of treason. So the King of England was considered treasonous to the English crown.
Yeah.
Explain to me how that works. Absolute, monarchy indeed. So Kidd would be stuffed into prison, and guess what? There was another man there in that prison. You want to guess what that guy's name was?
His name was Robert Culliford.
His name was Robert Culliford. So for 2 years, they actually lived in the same roof, and they had no idea the other one was there.
Wow.
Until later on. So Kidd tried to defend himself, but eventually he does break down. He would have something called a great fit, where he actually took his shackles and dented the portcullis and all that, and apparently he bloodied up a few guards because of the fact that Kidd was a large, terrifying, strong man. And if you got in his way, he was going to give you quite a bonking. He eventually, his fit lasts for so long that he actually catches a fever and actually passes out on the spot. And that's how he he took a little chill pill, shall we say. Kidd would eventually give a piece of gold to the marshal that he asked be sent to his wife. This was considered the last piece of Kidd's treasure because I believe he sewed it into his jacket. I believe that's why he had it while he was in prison. Kidd was eventually convicted of 4 counts of piracy and the murder of William Moore, who he murdered with a bucket. Gotta say, what a guy. The trial, he was mid-trial when another trial starts, and it was the trial of somebody who you may have heard of. His name is Robert Culliford. So he comes out and he's like, that son of a gun, he's right there. And so Robert Culliford was actually used in somewhat of as a testimony for the entire situation that happened with the Queda and all that. So what are the chances? I don't know if you know this. The world's a pretty big place. What are the chances that those two people are in the same building? That's insane. I just thought that is cosmic. That's cosmic.
Yeah. Well, like reading about Kidd's demise feels cosmic, man, because it's just like man, one bad break after another. Ever since he got, and he was like, this is a guy, okay. He like had it made, dude. Like he was a merchant in New York, and he had like a stable business.
Hot smoking wife.
He's smoking hot wife. Got Sarah Jr.
He's got Sarah Jr.
Yeah. But he's like, nah, I'm gonna like F this. I'm gonna go try to be, some kind of.
I'm gonna be a legend.
I'm gonna be a legend, dude. And I mean, there's no great reward without great risk. Mm-hmm. But holy man, like hindsight sure hurts when you read this story.
And so the English Parliament was actually, they had already decided he was guilty. There was no way the Kidd was going to get out of this.
Oh yeah, in fact, there's a little sidebar here dealing with the political things of the time because he had been backed by this group called the Whigs, and the Tories were against the Whigs, and the Tories were like in power in Parliament. They're like going to try to use him against their political opponents. But Kidd wouldn't talk, thinking that the Whigs were going to help him out. But there was a chance that if he had been politically useful to the Tories, he might have had a lesser fate. But
correct. And so, unfortunately, the poor guy just couldn't catch a break. And because of the attempt to sweep all this under the rug, they were like, well, we need to have a scapegoat. So William Kidd became the scapegoat for essentially all of the pirates that attacked the Mughal pilgrim fleets, all because in the language that the Indian emperor spoke, Kidd was easier to pronounce than Henry Avery. So they said, oh, Kidd did everything. And so the emperor was like, I can say that. That's an easy thing to understand. Therefore, all of the raids on the Pilgrim fleet were essentially brought onto Captain Kidd, even though he never actually did it.
Wow.
What are the chances? So Kidd would eventually go on to say that he regretted the Queda affair after one of the actual Armenians that was on the boat when he took it went to come. That he came and tried to talk to him. He said, "Where's the boat?" And he said that he actually didn't remember. He doesn't know. He sold it while he's in the Caribbean. Who knows where it's been? He's been in jail for 2 years. I mean, God knows where it's been, where it's gone at this point. But he said that he actually did regret the things that he did, which I imagine after you've been sitting in prison for 2 years, you probably regret a lot of things. Something that is very consistent in the stories back then is that if you are in a prison, they actually let you spend time with ladies of the night, and you are treated to a very big meal, and you're allowed to get pissed drunk before your actual hanging.
Hmm.
Kidd was notable because he never spent any time with any other women other than who was in his family. I don't know if Sarah ever actually came to visit him. Sarah does eventually remarry and has 4 kids, and the 4th kid is actually named William in honor of her late husband. He had already died by this point, but unfortunately, Kidd never did actually get to see his daughter, Sarah Jr. Very, very unfortunate. And so she would have been very, very young. And actually, funnily enough, in the 50 Fathoms RPG, which is a pirate fantasy based game, there's actually an entire adventure set in that universe where it is Sarah Kidd actually looking for her dad.
Oh wow,
I thought that was a really cool little addition to that.
That's touching.
But it was, yeah. He's just looking for dad. Because in that universe, I believe Captain Kidd goes missing when he's going back to London because of the way that the setting works. I won't get into it, but yeah, that was notable. Kidd actually had a lot of like moral upstandingness. I think that's why he was considered an asshole, is because of the fact that he held himself to like a very high standard. Anyway, so in the year 1701, they brought out William Kidd to be hung. And again, there's a good line from the Ballad of Billy the Kid, where people from all around came to watch the hanging of Billy the Kid.
Mm.
He was piss ass drunk when they brought him up to the gallows. They hung him. The first rope actually snapped, and he didn't die. So they had to pick him up and put him up onto a second rope, and then they hung him again. His last words historically are not known, but there are 2 accounts that say that he either mentioned religious things where he said that he hoped God forgives him for the things that he did, or he specifically calls out that he misses his wife and kid, which is just so sad. The poor guy never even had a chance in that regard.
That is super sad.
It is. And so eventually, when he was dead, they tarred him, put him in a gibbet, and they hung him in the London harbor to warn people to not be pirates. And the whole thing was kind of wiped their hands of it, and everybody seemed to be fairly happy. Shortly after, a man by the name of Robert Culliford walks out of prison, free as a bird. And he actually does spend his entire pirate fortune in legal fees in order to escape. But Robert Culliford leaves, walks into the London wilderness, and is never heard from again. But he was allowed off scot-free. So the actual pirate that William the Kid actually hunted got away scot-free. The one that actually did the crime was free.
Oh man, score 1 for injustice. I mean,
yeah, right. That's just a classic.
What a
case
story!
But and then of course the legend does go on that Captain Kidd did bury his treasure somewhere. That apparently there's a very large chunk of stuff that he has that is buried somewhere. We don't really know where. Historical estimates say it's about 100,000 pounds of treasure. They believe it's in Madagascar. Or it's either in one or the other, or it's spread out between Madagascar and the Americas. And apparently, that treasure has never been found as of today, at least as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
There you go. That is the history of William the Kid.
Captain Kidd as he sailed was.
Man,
it's such a mighty risk and then a mighty downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Like just precipitous, man. Like, and he couldn't catch a break either.
Nope. And so that's why you don't trust the government. That right there.
You certainly don't trust a bunch of basically legal crooks trying to make you do their dirty work.
Mm-hmm. So that leads into who is William the Kid on the table?
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about his rules, sir?
Well, yeah. Let's look at William the Kid, or William Kidd, the captain. William the Kid. Well, he leads a couple of forces. He's illegal to take in a few of these forces. You can take him in English Buccaneers or Kidd's Privateers, which is personal force where he has to be taken. He has 20-inch command range, 3 command points. He's very, very command point rich, extremely powerful command range. If you're going to play him on land or play him with multiple ships, he does have strict, which is totally fitting for his character. I think that's his primary appeal, at least in my opinion. Sailing master is also excellent because you get to manipulate your top speed, which is always good. If you pair it with a carpenter, you might not even take a penalty for doing so because you can carpenter the lucky hit that occurs off of your character on the
Or you
following
could,
turn.
or you could put a top sail on a boat just to increase the top speed.
Yeah, you could put your extra sail. I think it's improved rig is the thing, but
One of the two, whatever the
yeah,
upgrade is. There's an upgrade.
topsail is the box hauling, but
You're correct. Sorry. Yes.
one of those. And then he has the expert broadside, which is kind of interesting. It basically lets the criticals that you roll, if you roll a 1 for a critical or a lucky, you can re-roll it. So it makes your crits stickier, is really what it does.
And one thing I should say, he is also allowed to be the leader of Brethren on the Coast.
Oh yeah, he can do Brethren of the Coast as well.
So he can be an unaligned commander as
he
well.
can be unaligned in that sense. Yes, you can play him in that phase of his career, so to speak.
Yep. And that would have been a very young William, probably
Yeah.
when he had the blessed William.
When he had the Blessed William, yeah, might have counted as a Brethren of the Coast.
Correct.
So he can also lead a special army, which is Kids Privateers, which is the years 1689 to 1699, which is when he was active.
Should also be said he's 28 points. I don't know if you mentioned that.
But he is 28 points, which is actually pretty good for a 3-point commander. That's actually relatively cheap.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's just because he doesn't have inspiring. I believe there is a tax.
Yeah, he doesn't have inspiring, and he doesn't really have a way to give traits to like any sort of anti-fatigue or fatigue control kind of tech without
everybody's
taking.
sad to be around him.
Yeah, everyone's.
He only makes
He's not exactly
sad.
the most. Yeah, he doesn't exactly do much for the morale. You know, he kind of hit that guy over the head with a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
They could have given him a ability called William Kidd's Iron Bucket, but they didn't.
So as a weird bit of history in English history, the General Moore is the guy that goes to the peninsula, and he's the one that gets hit by a cannonball.
Uh-huh.
Moors just can't catch a break. They get killed by just the most random of things, buckets and cannonballs, and they just can't catch a break. So if you're named Moore, I am so sorry.
Yeah, man, like that's a tough hand to be dealt in life.
Tough. It's tough.
It's tough out there, buddy. Speaking of tough, you can't get much tough in this army. Tough would be nice, but you cannot.
Nailed it. Well, dude, you got Sons of Neptune. It's fine.
You got Son of Neptune. You got Grizzle Veteran. You got some. You got the Cook.
Yep.
You got some characters that can help you with your fatigue for sure.
So should we talk about Kids Privateers specifically?
Yeah, just their this I keep calling it an army, but it's really a navy.
Sure. I mean, you can use it on land. I mean,
this crew, yeah,
fun.
This particular force, I guess they call it.
There you go.
So you have to take Kid as your commander. You can't not take Kid. If you fail a strike test, you may add a fatigue point to each unit in the force to pass the test instead, which is kind of an interesting way to stick around if you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then a single ship in this force gains a heavily built trait. Now, heavily built, if I'm not mistaken, lets you ignore the first point of damage from cannons.
Yes, first point per wave of getting hit
per shot. Yeah, you just straight up
Which is
ignore it.
Really good.
Yeah, so you it's basically -1 to incoming cannon damage for every cannon volley that hits you, which is really good. If you have a smaller boat.
Yep.
And if you pair it with a carpenter, for example, that automatically is synergistic because not only can you carpenter your way into a healthier ship, you can just resist cannon fire with this -1 from heavily built.
My two thoughts. That's the reason people bring flutes is just purely so they could get that upgrade.
Just heavily built.
I think the galley has it too, but the heavily built, in my opinion, is one of the best upgrades you can put on a boat, just because of the fact that not only does it stop your boat from getting wounded, it makes it so it's harder to crit because it messes with the math on that, and it makes it harder to crit just because it does lower the speed it goes down. But every single time it blocks a hit, it also prevents the chance that one of your crewmen is going to die.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think
that it reduces the sort of the damage that passes on to the crew.
Correct. So I think it's a fantastic upgrade, and I agree with David where I would. So with my thing that comes up later, I put him on a resin sloop. I think the resin sloop absolutely adores that upgrade.
Yeah, it slaps with Kid.
It's so good. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and then the last thing is just kind of sort of a thing that's standard for Buccaneer lists, where you get +2 to the attacker.
Which
Which,
most Navy factions have that.
yeah,
Which
some navies get +4, but
right.
Buccaneer factions get +2.
I believe in my brain the reason that all of the Navy factions have at least some kind of plus is that there's a lot of land ones that don't, and I
Hmm.
think it's supposed to represent the fact that they're like coming on shore and like
Right, they would have the
raiding.
initiative in the fight,
Right.
basically.
So I don't know how much that's really portrayed because most of the time when people are playing land games, you don't see them bring like Navy forces most of
Yeah.
the time. But I think it'd be really good for theme. I think that's why that's there personally.
So Kid Privateers, like I want to talk a little bit about unit selection. It's a bit narrow. You're you're looking for good sailors, right? And so
Mhm.
you have two options for like sort of your standard sailor. You could do Sea Dogs, you do Marines. Okay.
Yep.
Now Marines are the French sailor. They hit harder in melee. They're a little less tough on in the fight. Um, and they have hard charger, which is kind of cool if you're playing aggressively. But I personally don't rate hard charger that much if I'm playing a cannon list, which I think Kid wants to try to do because he's got this like extra cannon resistance kind of thing going on. Which you can take we can take multiple ways, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm going to fight you with cannons, and I'm going to have my cannon resistance and a carpenter and just outlast you. Or you could say, well, I have this ability to deflect a cannon shot on the way in, so I'm going to use that as a way to leverage a boarding action. There's two ways to sort of take it.
Yep.
But as far as unit selection goes, I find this rather limited, especially in the support column because you have two extremely expensive units in the support column.
Mhm.
Forlorn Hope at 7 and Veteran Freebooters at 8. Um,
So I gotta do a quick interjection here.
sure.
I hate to break it to you, there actually is no support units in this faction because as soon as I see that support thing, my eyes glaze over as soon as I see the
Yeah, I
unit.
just kind of like,
I'm just
ugh.
like, no. This is literally a force that has 4 units,
Yeah, you have 4 units. So
but
you have
they're bangers.
yeah, they're really good units. Flea Bustier, Freebooter, Marines, and Sea Dogs are all bangers. Like they're all
They're all
really
great.
good.
I probably, in my opinion, if you're gonna run a more canon themed list, obviously I think Sea Dogs, you probably lean more English,
Hmm.
kind of like you were alluding to. But I think if you want a more varied mix, I do personally think that filibustiers are better than freebooters
Right.
for their more like varied role.
Yeah.
I've always had problems getting my money's worth out of freebooters. It might just be because I'm a simpleton, but I just think that filibustiers with their brace of pistol and just their just because they have another skill, right? They got yeah, and they still keep that fast reload.
Yeah.
I find it's more useful than having the marksman. That might just be me.
No, I think you're right. I think that like it's a little weird because marksman you have to be at a particular range to get to get good use out of it, and it takes an extra action. Actions are kind of scarce in this game, even if you do have command points available. So marksman's the kind of like you're tanking your economy for a +1 or not +1, tanking your economy from -1 to shoot, basically.
Mhm.
And I'm cool off that. Like I don't really need to do that. I can just roll tens instead and have more things that roll tens.
It feels to me like it's
Like
the rich getting richer kind of rule.
it is a rich get richer rule.
Yeah.
If you already have a good shot, you just pay off for an even better shot. And I've had it work in certain situations, but that situation being like if I have the initiative and I'm already close, but I don't think I can muster enough muscle for a boarding action, then I can use an extra action to get marksman and do some damage from afar. It really comes down to uh, the fatigue levels because your fatigue level on the enemy ship, if it's too low, you're
Mhm.
not going to successfully board because you're going to get defensive fired.
Right.
And if it's too high, if your fatigue level is too high, going into combat is suicide because you'll get punished by a clap back and then you get routed. So
Yep.
so there's definitely situations where you want to get the marksman rolling because you get this particular bonus to shoot when you're already at low ranges. So
Mhm.
that's where I think it's the best. That's just my opinion.
I
Um,
do. I do think that the more and more I've played this game, we both have been playing this game for like roughly a year. I
yeah,
think we
about a
both
year.
actually kind of started. And I have found it's like a bell curve. When you
Mm,
first start playing, you're like, oh, boarding is super easy. And then you kind of go, or I'm sorry, boarding is really, really hard. And then as you play more, you kind of go up on this thing. And you're like, oh, boarding's super easy. You just kind of like get close and then you board each other and then you run onto each other and then you hit each other. And then as you play more and more, you get to the other side where you're like, oh my god, boarding is impossible.
Yeah, boarding
Just
can be
because,
virtually impossible if your opponent manages their fatigue well and has brace of pistols available.
right, and
Like,
abrasive pistols by itself
right,
can interrupt a well laid out boarding plan,
right. If you get one good rally and you have a unit with brace, you are
hmm
interrupting a boarding plan for sure.
which is insanely, I think, cool, but it's just crazy how swingy it can get.
Oh, it really can. And then
Which is
like
why stuff like grape shot I think is great. Just
yeah,
well,
grape.
again,
Well, that's the
effective
thing
weapon.
too. Like here's another reason to take grape shot is because grape shot ignores heavily built.
Right.
Because you're not
Right.
even targeting the hull. You're saying I'm going to not target the hull. I'm going to target the units on the deck,
Correct.
and I'm going to waste them with as much fatigue as I can. That's the idea.
So let me present to you a scenario, Mr. David. Are you
Sure,
ready?
sure.
Forlorn Hope.
Mm.
Great unit or the best unit in the game?
uh, I,
Sheesh.
sheesh. I take this faulty premise and I throw it into the trash.
Unfortunately, I really love the concept of Forlorn Hope and
Me too.
also the Perdes or whatever the French
Sorry,
exact.
sorry, sorry. Hold on a second. I got to rewind that. Yar, you take your faulty premise and walk the plank.
Oh no, Captain! Please, you told me I was your first mate. So yeah,
Be
unfortunately.
the first mate with Davy Jones.
So I will say I think that this is a surprise. Was there any other point you were trying to make?
No.
Okay,
Just
so
wanted to talk like a pirate for a second.
just wanted to make sure before I interrupted a point. I do
Yar.
think that these four units by themselves, and I'm going to say four. I'm going to say three, just because I kind of just push freebooters out as soon as I see Filibustier, because I just honest to goodness think that they
Poor
are better.
freebooters, man.
I know. I listen. I play English, and I just can't like them. I don't know why. Every time I play them, I'm always like, I feel like these guys should cost 5. I feel like the unit it literally costs 5.5, and they just kind of got bumped up
I
to
don't know.
6.
On paper, they're amazing. Like they're just
On paper, that's great, but you know what? I don't live on paper. I live in
okay.
the ocean, David.
The only thing that lives on paper is the sails on my boats. That's the only thing that lives on paper in this game.
And my lists. My
Yeah,
lists are very
and the list. Okay, sure.
important. But yeah, so I do actually think that with those 3 units, you can actually create a surprising amount of variety in your lists. I can see some argument for like maybe veteran freebooters to get thrown in there just because they do have that 6 range save, which is kind of like neither
Yeah.
here nor there. But they also have they come with the bayonets. It's like okay, I can kind of see
Okay. So they
I'm used
come
to
they
these
come with
guys.
plugs. They come with
Yeah.
pistols. They have a
But again,
6
only
fight.
one shot. That's what stinks about the freebooters in period is they're always sidearm pistols.
Right, right. It also has to do with the century too, because again, Kid is not from Raise the Black. Kid is
Sure.
from No Peace, isn't he?
He is from No Peace, yes, I do believe.
Yeah. So he was in a time of the game before we had this little monstrosity called the Jamaican Privateer.
That's where
Okay,
it
he
all
was before
changed.
he's before Jamaican Privateers got introduced to the game. All right.
We love you, Mike.
Yeah, we love you, Mike. So, but if you look at the Jamaican Privateer and you put it side by side with a freebooter,
It's tough.
it's tough, dude. It's really
It's
tough.
it's tough sell. Yeah.
You lose out on marksman. You lose out on all this cool text,
But guess what? I don't care.
but you don't care because you can
I don't
take like for the same cost as like what 4 freebooters is 24.
Because what a freebooter, if you take the decrease in thing, it's like the 3 points, right?
Well, Jamaicans, if you take the decrease, you go down. You can take 8 of them,
Right.
but you have to pay for the decrease. But of course, you make up for that in command points elsewhere.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But either way, whatever. Yeah, jammies make it tough.
Yeah, I can't.
Makes it
I can't. I can't. But that's one of the issues, and I guess we were gonna do this on a separate episode, but
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 3-point units have kind of become a yardstick.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yep. Which maybe that could be the episode. Maybe that's like a future. That is definitely going to be a future episode we're going to talk about.
Yeah, where 3-point units are a yardstick by which other units are measured.
Yeah. So since we're going to talk about another episode, let's talk about another important thing to do with this list, which is which boats do you take?
Mm.
So I personally will volunteer that I believe the brig is always a fairly good choice for a good roundabout gunboat. That's also
Brigantine.
fast.
Yeah, I love the Brigantine. It's just the bog standard Brigantine is a really good ship.
But guess what makes it even better? Heavily built.
Heavily built, exactly.
Sounds good. Really love the resin sloop because I think the resin sloop is a shockingly good gunboat that's very, very mobile.
Oh yeah,
And again,
the mobility and the armament of 3 mediums is like it's your most all around ship that you can build. I think
yep. And
is
then
a
of course,
triple medium sloop.
if you just happen to give it heavily built, again, it just adds, right? It just
Yeah,
adds
I measure all
value
other
to it.
size twos by the triple medium sloop.
Yep.
And
And
in fact,
then
I measure some of the lighter size threes by the triple medium sloop.
And so I will, and I'm going to call out that I believe the frigate is obviously a fantastic gunboat, just for obvious reasons, because if you
Yeah,
have that 3 gun deck, it's an amazing boat.
right.
Now,
You have a three
because
plus two.
a 3+2.
Sorry, you have the mid deck is 3, and you have a +2 on the
Oh,
rear deck.
yes, right, right.
So
And so,
you get a 5 gun volley,
which is really good with expert broadside.
right.
It's pretty solid. Heavily built makes it insane. Like a light frigate with heavily built
hmm
is tough as butts to
It is
break.
really hard to crack. Like
Yep.
it's
That
really
first
hard to crack.
line, that first line of integrity is going to feel like you're just trying to break down a wall with your
Yeah,
fist.
because it's a 5 integrity plus heavily built. So
Right.
good
And
luck
so
breaking it with cannons with a carpenter on board.
because of that, I would actually venture to say, do you think you could get away with a merchant frigate and save yourself the 4 points because
So
you have heavily built?
what's the big difference?
There is literally the only difference, as far as I can tell, is just the loss of you go from
Oh,
5 to
you
4.
lose your 5 integrity.
I believe, as far as that as all the other rules, I believe are exactly the same.
I don't know if I like that. You're right. It is a
Uh,
big disc. It's a 4 point discount.
I don't know if
So
I like you, so there you go.
oh
Boom.
jeez.
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh.
Ah, jeez.
Inevitable betrayal.
Yeah.
I believe that is the only difference.
Culliford?
Oh my god, are you my Robert Culliford?
I don't know.
Oh no.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Anyway.
I could see an argument that maybe the merchant frigate might be worth it because you can essentially bring, if you need the points to like get like a cannon or whatever,
Yeah,
or
but
an upgraded character.
it's 4 points for 6 additional fatigue or 6 additional integrity. Like,
I know.
but it could be overkill. You're absolutely right.
I'm just saying that there's a chance. You're
Yeah, there's
telling
a
me
chance.
there's a chance.
Yeah. I don't know. I like having an extra row of integrity if I'm going to take a ship that big, but it is a huge investment.
I don't blame you. I do think that the light frigate, just because of how insanely tough it is, I think it's worth bringing. Just so you
Yeah.
can brag to your friends that everything they do is a waste of time and that
You do
they should
5
just
I mean
stop
you do
playing the game.
5 mediums, you have grape to switch into grape if you need it against boats and other lighter craft. But 5
So,
mediums will just put a gigantic hole in anything it looks at pretty much.
especially with and so there is somewhat of a discussion to be had about the usefulness of broadside. I
Mhm.
don't think broadside in itself is like an insanely valuable uh, rule.
Mhm.
Expert broadside, I don't think adds a whole lot to it,
Right.
which
It
is why I
doesn't.
think maybe William the Kid is a little bit cheaper, just because of the fact that expert broadside has its uses. I'm not saying it's like absolutely pointless, but I don't think that every
Right.
single game is going to be dictated by a single broadside that you re-roll a 1. Now,
Well,
I say that, and the battle report that I did against Mike, that is on the Arachne channel, it happened twice. But I don't think it's always going to happen.
no, it's not going to happen. That times. But like back at napkin math says, you know, you're going to roll you're going to roll 5 ranging shots for your cannon, right? And then each cannon explodes into 3 hits.
Yep.
So you're rolling 15 up to 15 potential dice that have crit potential on them.
Let's just say hypothetically, you're probably going to need like a 6 to wound if they're a fresh boat.
If they're a fresh boat, yeah. So you're gonna your chances for a crit are still like you're gonna roll 1.5 crits on average if all 5 hit.
Yeah.
And even then, you may not even use expert broadside because you need to roll a 1 on the
So
critical.
I'm just hoping that the point allocation matrix that the Lord and the all powerful rules writers have, that expert broadside is not an especially heavily weighed rule. I hope not. I think it's useful. Don't get me wrong; it'll come up. Hopefully, you remember you even have it, right? I just don't think it is a. Let's just say when I start my list building journey, my first thought isn't, "Oh man, I can't wait to get expert broadside." That's just what I
Yeah,
think.
I'll just say that much. I think it's definitely like a niche a niche keyword or
It's
niche.
not like it's not like Indomitable, right? Where you just wake up. The
No.
first thing I think of when I
Oh,
wake
of
up
course, you
every
bring up the
morning.
unknown African, right?
Yeah, listen, that's a whole other point of discussion. We'll talk about that another day. But
Hmm.
guess what? You can't bring him in this list. I'm sorry to tell you.
But you
Oh,
can
I
play
guess
him
you
in
could
Brethren of the
if
Coast,
you play
buddy.
Brethren, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, the secret juice. We just found it.
Oh no, these specific adventure characters.
This is insane.
It's not like it's been known they're good since Last Adepticon.
We're not going to talk about it. It's fine. We're talking about Kid. All right. So, any other things that you think are really, really imperative to him? Oh, Master Gunner, I do believe is almost always going to be intrinsically tied to Captain Kidd, just because
Yeah.
with strict and the bonus, you're going to be at -2 to your ranging shots with the cannons, which
Yep.
is insane. Now that is a really good thing.
Yeah, you get the -2 to the ranging shot, which is pretty sick.
To make a huge difference, especially if
Yeah.
you're using big guns. Is it
Yeah.
worth it if you're running a ship of just like light guns? I don't
No.
know. Maybe, but with medium guns, I definitely think it's worth it.
Well, it depends on your strategy. Like for medium guns, it's definitely worth it because you are going to use round shot. Like that's half the point of bringing mediums is you're planning on using round shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And and I do think that no matter what as everybody likes to tell me, every list is technically a cannon list because even if you're trying to board, you're going to need to shoot cannons to get anything done.
You're going to need you have to get something done at range because if you can't, you're in trouble.
Correct, because then you're just going to get withered as you slowly sail to them. You're just going to get chiseled.
Right, you'll get chiseled down. You won't be able to return any fire, and then once you actually get in position to board, you're like 2 for 2 fatigue on everybody, and
everybody's like, "I'm sad. I just want to lay down and take a nap."
Yeah, no boarding will take place today because you all have 2 fatigue, and I have less fatigue than you because I've been spending my entire time rallying and shooting.
And they probably have Marineros because they're good.
Right, they have Marineros because Marineros have Ruthless. Or speaking of Marineros, you saw those new sculpts, man? Like,
yes, I did.
They're
yes,
so sick.
They are so dynamic. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, I can't wait for the new wave of sculpts they're putting out.
Oh man,
my wallet
so
is gonna be so empty. Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually fund Jamaica's economy with this new book. It'll be great.
Yeah, you're gonna give you're one of those guys who gave Kid his commission, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be one of the noblemen. Is like, I can't. Can you take my name off that list? I kind of heard he was a bit of a prick over there.
Lord Cash Bankworth over here.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about the list. This is the famous Dr. D Captain Kidd boarding list. It is known as far and wide as maybe a few feet outside my front door.
Okay.
Everybody within that area has heard of this list. It's great.
Oh my goodness! Well, now it's the power of the internet is coming to you.
So guys, this is the new meta. So I'm going to try and bring this to Adepticon. I'm actually, honest to goodness, going to try and bring this and be
okay.
like, is there some juice to this? Thankfully, like I said, Nigel was nice enough to help me.
Are you just making a career out of mispronouncing his name?
I sure am. That's the bit. So
okay,
Mr. Blackish Caesar.
Damn it, the bit went right over my head. Just like a cannonball from Captain Kidd's ship.
No, that's not going over. That's going through. That's going to go through your chest hole.
Yeah.
I with his help, I made a list, and then he gave me a list, and it was like remarkably similar. I think the only difference was some units were like wiggled around a little bit. So let me tell you what that list is. So it is obviously an English list because I play English because I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm playing Kidd's Privateers. Obviously, got William Kidd. We have 8 Flibustiers with no upgrades. We have 6 Flibustiers with no upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
I hit a button that messed up my list thing, but don't worry, I'm going to fix it. It's fine.
So you have 8 and 6 Flibustier.
You know what, everybody? Don't pay attention to me. I might have accidentally just hit a button and completely ruined what I was talking about. Okay, so 6 Flibustier with no upgrades. 8 Marins with their pistols exchanged for brace of pistols for the 4 points for the unit. Mm-hmm. And I'm adding stink pots and fire pots. I think that I probably just give them the stink pots. I don't think a fire pot strategy is particularly useful for this. Unless, because you don't want to really throw fire pots on a part of a boat you intend to board.
No.
Doesn't really work well, but obviously stink pots, super important for stopping the defensive fire, because if you're in the stink, you don't want to shoot your gun.
Yeah, it's a way to force a stop to defensive fire if you haven't dealt enough fatigue on the way in.
You can't pull the trigger because you got your hands over your nose holes.
It's an insurance policy.
Exactly. Definitely not a bad thing to have. So the 8 units of Marins, which are definitely going to be the ones that jump over the edge. And then we have 11 Sea Dogs with no upgrades and no downgrades. They get to keep their pistols. Good for them. We're going to be using the Resin Sloop. As I said, that I think that it's just a really, really great boat. You give them freshly careened hull just to get them into a useful position. And it also helps with the boarding aspect of it if you are going up against somebody who may not have a very good like range defense, and you really just want to like get in, or if you're going up against another really powerful gunboat, eventually the sloop will lose, even with heavily built. If you're going up against like a frigate with all medium guns, it's probably a good idea to just get in close, blast them, and then jump on. Obviously, 3 medium cannons, so it's just going to be the front deck of the sloop with the cannons. We're including the master gunner, which is going to be Dudley, and we have the cook, who is I forget the name I have for him, but him and his 2 piggies, my 2 piggies. If anybody's seen my cook model, they're great. So comes out to 250 points, 34 models. I like it. I got to play test it a little bit more just to see how it is. I just think 8 Marins with brace of pistols, it can cause a lot of pain.
Oh yeah,
With the
Marines
cook.
kick butt. I actually like them a lot. I think they're underrated. They're one of the most underrated sailors.
I do think that they get overshadowed a little bit just because of the fact that Marineros have the Ruthless and Sea Dogs are
Yeah,
just better at shooting.
they're overlooked. They're overlooked because they don't have expert artillery crew, and
Mhm.
so I was like, oh, I'll take Leiden. And then they don't have ruthless. Like, oh, I'll take Marineros. But they actually have their place for sure because they have that 5 fight and hard charger. So
Mhm.
you have a really huge spike on the charge turn when they board. Like once they go over the rail, you're going to be hitting on 4s re-rolling, which is tight. You're gonna get 6 or 7 hits. Like it's going to be devastating.
And
6 or 7 hits in this game is a lot of hits, by the way.
yeah, because and I mean, even if you get, and again, if it's a unit that's even slightly damaged, you're going to be getting those hits that goes over their like the number of models. So
Yeah,
now you're just instantly getting. So you kind of get around the heavy cover that you're going to be dealing with on a boat
right.
because you're just instantly killing people, which is great. So that's my list. I'm going to try it, see how well it does. If it does well enough, I might bring it to Adepticon. I have no intention of winning Adepticon, so this would mostly just be for fun and because I really like my paint jobs. I have to paint a lot of French. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
So how about you? Did you make a list?
I did not unfortunately make a kid list, but mine would be
What a bummer.
probably tending towards the cannon build with a carpenter.
Would you go? Which force would you go with?
Probably kids privateers with heavily built.
Yeah, I feel like that one line of text alone makes that
Yeah, I would take
more
it. I would
appealing.
take it in the cannon direction.
Mhm.
I would probably use Sea Dogs for expert artillery crew.
Yeah,
There is a world in which I take Marines and I put them on the cannon, and I use a
sure.
command point to abandon. There's something to be said for a bosun because the
Mhm.
bosun has the assign abandon command point. So you can bosun yourself, and then you're instantly off the guns. And you can just do your normal actions from there.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess what I was trying to say, if you put Marines and give them a master gunner,
Right.
you can
He's
sort
gonna
of
be an
roll. You
expert.
can roll a board. You can roll a boarding defense unit into the
Yeah.
same kind of deal, right? Because when you defensive attack or defensive fight, I mean, you have some advantage there. The Sea Dogs I like because they have that 6-up fight save. That's what I like about them,
Yep.
which goes down to a 5 when you're in hard cover. So I'd probably spam the heck out of Sea Dogs and then take maybe a token unit of Flibustier for boarding defense.
Sure. And just to
That's
take some pot shots.
just to
And
take pot
thankfully,
shots as well.
Filibustier, they're also sailors, so they could do well,
Yeah.
you could do a repair action no matter what, but
So
you could do
that's
like a
something I want
sailor
to do. I
sailing
want to
on
be able
board.
to do with this list also is expert sailing.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you need your advanced maneuvers, it's always good to just kind of have a sailing unit standing around to just be able to fill in.
Yeah.
What boat would you go with?
Light frigate.
So you're going with light frigate. How many units? You
Pro-
see, this is the issue that I've always found is you want to do the light frigate, and then all of a sudden you can't fill the boat
Yeah,
because
you would have to go down to 4
right.
just to it'd be very elite, unfortunately.
And is it? I don't know. It just feels weird to have empty chunks of boat, but I guess it's
It
not
does
really
feel a
like
little weird.
bad as long as you are able to get into that part of the boat when you're about to get boarded, right? Because being
Well, the
boarded,
real struggle is if
not
you have
good.
to pay 55 points for 5 mediums and grape shot and chain shot. That's the
Yeah,
struggle.
and that's not including the fact that your commander also costs 28, and the fact that your
Right. And the
boat
frigate
costs
costs
21.
21. So
You're already like 100 points in, and you haven't even
you're
brought a guy
104 points in already.
in.
So, but you have 3 command points and you need some kind of insurance on him on Kid so that if he ever gets shaken, so I mean you need a cook is what you need.
Yep.
You got to
You
take a
need a
cook.
cook, or you need a drummer boy, either the hostage or the upgrade, the fighting
Yeah,
man
drummer
version
boy is
of it.
an interesting choice because you get the free strike point. So
Yep.
So that's an interesting choice you
And
could
he's only
make.
4 points for a hostage,
Only
which
four
I think
points
is a
for
steal.
hostage. He gives you inspiring, which is something you don't normally have when you have a 3 command point attached to it. So if you rally, 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 that's a lot of value.
Yeah. And
Um,
obviously, depending on, and that's one of the cool things about Kid is that you are getting the 3 command points.
yeah.
And in Navy games, you're probably not worried about range, but obviously 3 command points is 3 command points. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so to crew 3 mediums, I would need 3 crew per medium, so that's at least 9 plus a couple casualties. Probably strip them from their pistols,
Yep.
the Sea Dogs, just to get as many dudes on the guns as possible.
I can also see an argument for bringing a standard bearer with Kid just to get that free rally.
Yeah, get another rally point. Yeah, that's fair.
Because I do honest to goodness think that these lists with him are going to live and die by fatigue management, just
Oh,
because of the fact that he's not very good at it.
100%. You need to be able to do fatigue management in some form on these lists.
Yep.
But yeah, I would maybe go towards a medium spam cook carpenter
Mhm.
fighting man route, double Sea Dogs with an 11 and an 8, and then you have let's see, there's about 100 and I don't know, it's 167 out of 250, so you got 80 something points to play with to split into 2 units that are going to be your boarding defense / musketeers,
Sea
just to get
dogs are
that little
great.
extra.
Sea dogs are really great at clogging up the boat. They're not going to kill the boarders, but they're pretty decent at not being murdered.
Yeah, they also have brawlers too, so the longer the fight goes on, the more often you're going to get those bonus hits.
Yep.
So that's one of the other reasons I like them too, is they're really defensive. So they're just really good for defense.
Who doesn't love a good cook?
Yeah, so I would probably split, like, I would definitely take a unit of Fleet Boost today and put Kid in them, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you bring this force, you'd be stupid to not at least bring one unit of.
You need at least one unit of Fleet Boost, yeah.
Just
They're
because they punch so good.
They punch hard, they shoot at 28 inches, so they actually augment your cannon strategy.
Solid stats. They just don't like to be hit.
Yeah, they just don't like being hit.
Typical
And you're
French
not going to
problem.
get hit that much because you're a heavily built frigate.
Mm-hmm.
You're not actually going to get hit that much. You're a floating castle, basically.
Yep. So I think that's cool. I think it's a fun. I think he's fun. I think he's got some play to him. I think there's some dog in him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm excited to use him more to kind of learn.
Me too. I'm hopeful for your Adepticon effort.
Just so you can play against me, so you know how to beat it.
No.
No.
I hope I'm able to play at Adepticon. It's all up in the air still.
Because you're still doing strip.
Yeah, I might be doing Legion, so I'm gonna be I might not be able to participate in the tournament this year.
So make sure you go up to David and you use the name of my list, which is going to be you got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding me! You're over
You
here.
gotta be kidding me over
You gotta be
here.
kidding me over here.
Just because that William the kid over there is over kidding over. Jeez, come on.
Well, what is a Long Island accent anyway? Because they're from Long Island after all.
I'm not gonna say it because then we're gonna offend. Probably, I bet half the listeners here live on Long Island.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
probably. I don't know. I don't know math.
Well, my ex-wife is from Long Island, so.
Oh my god. I know Jeff is from Long Island, from Defective Dice. I know he listens to the show. I love David.
Well, I was reading the history of Kid,
David.
and there was an interesting. Speaking of Bellamont, right? Just to turn it back to the history, Bellamont had written that the inhabitants of Long Island were, quote, a lawless and unruly bunch. His words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
Protecting the pirates who had, quote, settled among them. So that's Bellamont on Long Islanders for you.
New York was a pirate haven, so I'm shocked. I'm not shocked to know that Long Island is where they all settled, just because that's so close to the ocean.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm just asking questions. Okay, I'm just saying things.
Just
I don't
asking
mean
questions.
anything. Just asking questions.
You're saying so much, you're turning into Goku. I'm just saying.
Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan. All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up how I feel about it. Yeah.
We're not kidding.
We are not kidding. We are,
Yeah.
in fact, not kidding over here.
Yeah.
I closed my script for some reason. So yeah. Any parting? What are your parting thoughts on Kid? Would you want to try him? Do you want to try him? Do you think
I would like to try him? I'm not. I would say I'm at about a 6 out of 10 enthusiasm on him.
6 out of 10.
Just because knowing what I know, about Jamaican privateers and some of the BS you can pull off
Mhm.
with Jamaican privateers in this economy.
In this economy,
Yeah.
I do. You know, I think I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about them. I'm going to give them an 8 out of
Okay.
10 schmeckles, just because I think I really just like the idea of this stupid boarding list that I have in my
Can I
head.
just say his model is incredible?
Also, that should be said. He does have an
Yeah. So like
amazing model.
all the legendary guys, I want to give him at least a whirl at least once because the models are sick,
Yep.
especially Kid, and then Lola Nay. Uh, Now I guess is his name, David Now.
Mhm.
Really, really good. Really, he's got
And
that bloody sword that he's wiping off. Really,
yeah,
really good looking.
I love Henry Morgan's, especially the Kickstarter one where he's doing the pose.
Yeah.
Huge fan of that one.
If you play this game for nothing else, the models will get you because the resins are all insanely good.
Yep, yep.
I could take or leave the plastics. So that's just my opinion, but
I have always been the one to say that I understand why they exist and I very
yeah,
much appreciate it, but the
me too.
resin sculpts are definitely where it's
I've
at.
had fun with this with the plastics with kit bashing. If you have to be good at kit bashing to make the plastics really shine next to the resins, is what I've found.
Yep. I just don't like any kit that has a sheer wrist hand joint.
Yeah, that doesn't
Absolutely,
feel great.
absolutely despise them. But
Yeah, drop them on the floor, lose their hand.
yep, and then you got to repaint, and there's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a
So,
mess.
yeah. But I do
Anyway,
appreciate why it's there, and it does give you free upgrades, so that when you upgrade your kits, if you need like lances or
yeah,
whatever.
it's great to have. It's nice to have the bits and everything.
Yep. Especially the pistols. You just cover all your models with pistols.
Yeah,
Gotta love that.
pistoleros get more brace of pistols. Just it's brace of pistols all the way down. We don't serve muskets here. We just spam brace of pistols and board you,
Jeez. Jeez. All right.
and the
Well,
grape shot will do the rest.
I think we did it. I think we talked about kids. So, guys, hear us out. If you really like this kind of content, give me a heads up. Do you like this kind of format of an episode? Do you not like this kind of episode? Do you like the history? Do you want me to shut up and just talk about the models, Dylan? You monkey dance, please. So if you like, just give. I'd love it. I love the feedback. Tell me what you want. I'm doing my best to give you what it is. I'm trying to give you what the plants crave. Okay, whatever that might be. If it's
You should ask Dylan if you want me back on because if you do, thank you, and if you don't, I don't know what to do with you.
if he doesn't want to make his own content, so I'm going to force him to make Blood and
Yeah,
Plunder content on Arachne.
you might as well.
He's been press ganged onto the ship.
Yes, I'm the engagé to your flibustier.
Swab the deck, you stupid idiot.
Just please don't iron bucket me.
So, guys, if you really enjoy this stuff, give us a 5-star review. It really does help grow the family. Anything that we can do to make Blood and Plunder more of a big thing, I really, really appreciate it. I love it. I love this game.
Yeah,
It's distressing how much I think about this game
it's
on a daily
distressing.
basis. It's
I love that.
distressing. It's like, what is happening to me? I don't even recognize myself anymore sometimes. I look in the mirror and I just see a pirate looking back at me.
You just go to sleep with visions of 8K resin pirates dancing in your head. You wake up and it's like, oh, I get to paint flibustier today.
Oh, yes.
Life has meaning.
I can't wait to paint another musket. I've only painted 1,000 of them so far.
Yeah,
And then with Blood and Bayonets coming, I'm like, great, more muskets.
more
Hooray.
muskets.
And rifles. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, give us a review if you can. Absolutely appreciate it. And if you want to help us out in any way, please join us at our Patreon. We really do appreciate it. We are the Digital Nomad tier. And by God, I really appreciate the fact that you're listening. So, you can find me. I'm Dr. D, dr.d on Discord at Dr. D, which is dr.d. Or you can email me at furypainting@gmail.com. David, where can they find you?
You can find me at wintermoonwargaming.com. And there's a Discord link for our public Discord. And I believe I'm also in the Arachne Discord under Endless. So that's where
You are, yes.
where I'm
So
at,
if you go
so.
on the Discord, you can find him under Endless. He should be.
Yeah, you can send all your hate mail and all your never see him on the show again. Don't do it.
He's also in the blood
The
and
Firelock
the
Discord.
Firelock
Yeah.
Discord. Yeah, he's in there.
Sometimes I have pithy things to say. Other times I whine. But other than that,
Well, on that, thanks for listening, Buccaneers. Make sure you keep plundering out there, and we will catch you next time. And so ends the ballad of Billy the Kid.
yo ho, yeah, that's the wrong song.
Well, it's fine. We'll put something here.